right. Jim George is here. It's 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Beautiful Friday morning. Jim is Professor Gadget because he knows about gadgets. And Father's Day is Sunday, so maybe you want to get your dad a gadget.
That's right.
Dads like gadgets.
They do.
Gadgets are dad things.
They are dad things.
Good morning, Jim. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
And happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you. Glad to be back in Ocala. I was out all week. I told you I was going to go to a trade show, but I didn't have a chance. I had to put in a fire alarm system this whole week, and I'm so glad it's done.
Oh, that's right. You were going to go to it. So
yeah,
was that disappointing that you couldn't go?
Yeah, I really wanted to go. You know, it's gadgets. It's audio and video gadgets.
You like gadgets.
I like
We like gadgets. The Pope says we're paying too much attention to our gadgets.
Well, that's true. No,
we're worshiping our technology.
And that is so true. My wife is a guilty party. I mean,
not you, huh?
You know, like when we're driving down the road, we don't talk anymore. She's playing Candyland or something, and if we go and whatever, he's watching TV, she's playing maybe crack trivia. She's always on her gadget, and then she has to amend herself. What do you call it? You know, say to me, "I'm so sorry." You know, but then she has to put the gadget away because she realizes she is spending much too much time on her gadgets.
But you could do the same. I mean, you could say the same thing. If you had one of those crossword books on a road trip, or one of those find a word books, you could you could have your nose in that. So the fact that it's a gadget, I don't think is the real.
I agree. I try not to do anything that's distracting. You know, I like looking around. I mean, I'm a people watcher. I really am a people watcher.
That's really just a way of saying girl watcher, isn't it?
Well, sometimes there's no girls around, but I'm still a people
yeah,
watcher.
That's right. Exactly.
I don't even see the guys.
I like to see what's going on. I like to be cognizant. You know how you see these movies where two people walk into a room and then you ask, what color was that guy's shirt? And one can't remember and one says it's red. I always find myself when I go into a place looking around. I want to see where the exit door is. I want to see where the bathroom is. I try to get a scope. And it's just nature, I guess, embedded in me that I really want to scope the place out. Because if anything happens, I want to get out of there, you know?
I do the same thing. I always look inside a building when I'm in there to see where the emergency exits are.
Yeah, I want to make sure what I know.
So when you go to a restaurant with your wife, do you take the seat at the table that gives you a view of the door? Or do you let your wife take the seat that has the view of the door?
Now, my wife wants the view of the people. She always makes me sit where she can see things going on. She doesn't want to face a wall. She doesn't want to face outside. She wants to face the people.
Okay. So. Remember we had that story one time about how men typically will take the seat that faces the door because we want to see if some trouble is coming our way. We don't want something coming at us from behind.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
You think that?
Right, exactly. That's the way to be.
We were talking about Father's Day, asking people about their fathers. So I have a question about your father.
Yes.
What would your father have said was his favorite gadget? Think about the era he lived in. What kind of gadgets were there?
Yeah, there weren't any real gadgets there.
Yeah, there were.
He loved his 8-track tape player.
He did.
He loved it. And he had a lot of old Willie Nelson songs and the old songs, country western type things, and he just played them all the time. And when cassette players came out and everything, he still kept his 8-track.
He loved the 8-track.
Loved the 8-track.
That's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Was it only in this car, or did he have one in the house?
Had one only in his car. In the house, he never played music in the house.
Okay, because we had an 8-track player in my house, I remember as a kid. As a teenager. I don't think anybody ever used it, but we had one.
Oh, wow.
He used to have like shoe boxes full of these songs that he would keep in his front seat of his car. So if we wanted to go anywhere, we had to move over all the shoe boxes because they were full of tapes.
So tell the audience, I know you've done this before, but we have new listeners. Tell the audience who your dad was. He's a famous person.
Certainly. My dad was a heavyweight champion of the world wrestler for I think it was a year and a half. And his name was King Kong. And back in the 30s, the movie studios came to him and said, we want to make a movie, and we want to call the big gorilla King Kong. And we'd like to buy your name. So back then, they offered him $5,000 for the name, which he said went towards a down payment on a house, and he bought a brand new Model T or whatever it was car.
Oh,
wow.
So he had a brand new car, and he had put a down payment on the house.
That is wonderful.
But then he felt bad because then the shoes, they had King Kong shoes, King Kong robes, and when the movie came out, they had all this memorabilia.
Lots of other stuff.
And he lost the name.
Wow.
So then he took the name Gorgeous George. So he was the first Gorgeous George.
Nice.
Wow. Wow. So he was still wrestling at that time.
He quit wrestling in 54.
Wrestling. Okay. Yeah. And was the way we see wrestling now, or did wrestling itself change?
No, it's probably the same. He when we as the kids were growing up, he never wanted to watch wrestling. He said it was not fake, but it was choreographed. In other words, you would meet with your opponent,
Wow.
and you would say,
Kind of the same thing.
"Yeah, I want you to throw me over here, and I'll do this, and we'll do that, and everything." And then 5 or 6 minutes into the bout, then they would both, when they were in some kind of a hold, agree that now they're through putting on a show.
Oh, I see. I
Now
see.
they're
Okay.
going to go for the title or whatever it is. May the best man win.
And it wasn't something you wanted to do? You didn't want to follow?
No, I went in the ring once. That was enough for
Oh,
me.
you did? Did you win?
If you've never had rope burns or mat burns, you talk to Galen about it. Galen will tell you. It will beat you up. That ring will beat you up.
But wasn't boxing and wrestling the main thing people were watching on the big gadget of the day, which was television?
Yes. When I was in the military, I went into New York, and my dad wanted me to go by Jack Dempsey's restaurant and meet with Jack Dempsey. So I went into the restaurant and met with Jack Dempsey, and he took me over to a wall and sat me down, and right above it was a picture of my dad and him
Oh, wow.
in a wrestling hold.
Kind of exciting.
And he said, "I wanted to be a champion wrestler, and I wrestled with your dad, and I got beat up so bad I became a boxer."
Uh-oh. Someone's calling.
I should have put it on. Should have put it on hold when I had a
There's
chance.
your gadget. Your gadget is ringing.
Yeah, no.
Your gadget is ringing.
So anyway, so that was that story.
Well, that is cool.
Yeah, so he beat Jack Dempsey so bad, Jack Dempsey became a boxer.
Do you know, one of the things about gadgets that is interesting is that they are becoming nostalgic. They've been around long enough now that some of the modern video games like Mario and some of the early ones,
Donkey Kong.
the kids who were kids in their day, now it's like, oh, they're so nostalgic. One of the songs that Robin and I does is the theme song from the game Zelda.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised, somebody who's 30 years old will snap his head and look at us and go, whoa, that's the Zelda song.
Yeah, these guys, they remember that's a good time in their life.
So,
Yeah, I don't play video games. I've never played, I think, a single video game in my life.
really?
Not Donkey Kong, not Pong, not anything.
Not even Pong, huh?
No, nothing. That thing would drive you crazy.
Well, for gadgets growing up, my cousin, he was a huge baseball fan, and he was my age, and it was in the 60s, and no matter what family gathering there was, he had a transistor radio on his belt, and he had that little earpiece going from the radio to his
Yeah.
ear.
Right,
so
right,
he
right.
could listen to the game, and that was his gadget.
That is a topic we've never covered before. It was gadgets of yesteryear.
Oh yeah, we need to come up with something like that.
That is a cool one. Yeah, the transistor radio definitely was a popular gadget.
Yeah, little Walkman. I remember when the Walkman first came out. Oh my goodness, everybody had a Walkman. They were going down the road listening to music, like a portable radio. But now they could put a cassette in it. Then all the runners would go running and put a cassette in their little Walkman.
Right.
Yeah.
And that all came from the transistor radio because
Yep.
it was like the same shape and the same size.
Yep. Fit on your belt.
Here's a modern day gadget that you just reminded me of. The modern day gadget is the headphones that have speakers on the outside, as well as the ones that that play for your ears.
Yes.
So you can take the headphones. Let's say you have headphones, I don't know, for your little iPod or whatever you got, your tablet, right? But you don't want the headset on your head. You just take the headset off. I guess you flip a switch or whatever, and now the speakers on the outside are your speakers.
Yeah. Growing up as a kid, we would see little people that were a little dementia. That means they would talk to a person that wasn't there, and they would just be walking down the street or at a restaurant,
Right.
just talking away, and there was no one there. You see that now,
That's right.
and you think they're talking to you. They'll say, "Hey, how are you today?" And I'm
Right.
going fine, and they go, "No, I'm talking." And they have this little thing in their ear, this little earbud.
Right.
And they just tap it.
Talking to somebody.
And they're talking to something, and it's like, they should go to the loony bin. There's nobody there. They're talking. Where's the cell phone at?
Exactly.
Fun topic. So we'll come back and talk some more. The phone lines are open if you want to call Jim. Jim is our Professor Gadget. Sounds like today we're focusing on gadgets of yesteryear. Usually we talk about tomorrow's gadgets. We've never really talked about the ones from the past. We'll be right back with Jim after this.
The weather is brought to you by MyFWC.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sunny to partly cloudy today with a thunderstorm arriving in the afternoon inland, high of 91 to 96. Still a thunderstorm around this evening, otherwise partly cloudy tonight with a low of 73 to 76. Tomorrow and Sunday are going to stay the same, sunny to partly cloudy, with a shower thunderstorm spreading from near the coast to inland, high of 90 to 94 both days. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Hey, I'm Gary.
And I'm Eric. Did you know that Red Eye Radio is on WOCA The Source every night from 2 to 6 a.m. and it's live?
That's right. No tape shows here.
We know that the news doesn't sleep.
And neither do we. So we're here with you live from 2 till 6 a.m. every weekday. Call us 866-90-RED-EYE. So join me, Gary McNamara.
And me, Eric Harley, every weeknight to discuss the latest in news and entertainment.
Right here on WOCA The Source.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my
too.
seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new
Yep,
trunk.
we can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too, huh?
Well, as a matter of fact, join me every Monday at 10 for auto repair with personal care here on The Source.
Of course you do.
Good credits, bad credits. It's none of our business because we're not an auto dealer. We're not a bank. We're not your mother. We're OcalaForSale.com. Marion County's marketplace for cars, trucks, and SUVs. We've got thousands of sellers standing by to take your call. No middleman. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge. Undercutting, rust proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
Do you have areas that have started sagging or drooping? Is what you're looking at not quite the same as it was years ago? Are there enhancements you've been putting off? Is there serious damage you need fixed? Then call on us, Damage Control Services, when your roof is sagging and the drywall is drooping after a storm, or your home just needs some enhancements. From damage repairs to new construction, Damage Control Services is here to help.
All right, Jim George is here. We are talking about gadgets, as we always do, because he is, after all, Professor Gadget. Today, we're looking backwards, though, not ahead. We've got gadgets of yesteryear.
Yes.
I can remember when my father brought home the first color TV.
Oh, yeah.
We all sat in the living room and was like, oh, man, look at that color. And it was usually so bright and so unreal. It was just like the yellows were really yellow and the greens were really green. We do have a phone call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
See, I might have seen your dad wrestle way back in the early 50s in Milwaukee at the Southside Arena. If he came to Milwaukee or not, I don't know, but I can remember. I remember the name King Kong, and I can remember you going back to Vern Gagne and Gypsy Joe and Billy Gales and all those guys.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
And, I don't know,
go ahead.
I don't know if he came to Milwaukee or not, but if he did, I know we've seen it because my dad was a big wrestling fan, and we always went to the Southside Army to watch wrestling, and it was a big deal.
It was a big deal. I remember coming home, from school, and there'd be guys in our house. These guys are huge. These guys are like 6'5", weigh maybe 275 pounds. Full of, just solid muscle, right? And they'd have names like the Mad Russian, and all these other names. And for exercise, they used to grab our hands, our two hands, and lift us up with their one hand. So one kid on one side and one kid on the other side. That was their dumbbells. These guys were so strong. Unbelievable.
I had the privilege back in probably early 80s of seeing Andre the Giant.
Yes.
In Milwaukee, and it was a free-for-all. Last guy in the ring was the winner, and he threw 12 guys out of that ring. And they flew, and one landed not too far from me. And I tell you, I don't think there was too much faking going on there.
No. Like I said, they put on a show at first. That's their whole thing, and then they have a certain amount of minutes where now they've given the person a bang for their buck. Now they're going to wrestle. And I remember, and my dad was so strong. I remember he used to buy tennis balls by the bucketful. And he would sit in the chair and just squeeze the tennis balls all day to get a good, the strength in his grip.
Yeah.
And his intimidation factor was he would go into a ring with 6 tennis balls, 2 under his armpits, 2 under his elbow pits, for lack of a better term, and 2 in his hands. And he'd walk into a ring and pop all 6 at the same time. Now, I dare you to even try and pop 1 tennis ball.
Wow.
With one hand.
Yeah, really?
That's how much muscles he had.
I don't know if old Victorial record players are an old-time gadget or not, but I can remember growing up in the 40s, we had one with the big horn, and it had the metal needle.
Oh, yes.
That's a gadget, sure.
Records,
Yeah, it's a gadget.
And I can remember my aunt's favorite song or record was The Ink Spots. And she played that over and over again. But, boy, I tell you, that was something with that old crank-up photograph.
Wow. Yeah. I remember there was my mother used to tell me that they'll give the Victrola away free because you had to buy the records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to have one now, but I wish I had that one that we had way back then. But they're very hard to find, and if you do find them, they're very expensive.
Right. So what do you remember as the first portable device you had? The Victrola.
Probably transistor radio.
Transistor radio. All right. Yep.
Yeah, everybody that was in back in those days had a transistor radio.
Yeah. You had to have that radio. Well, good.
Cool
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I think about the gadgets from even before that time, though. Like, I can't say. I guess a can opener would be a gadget,
Yeah.
or an ice grater. I remember when I think it was here in not Six Gun, but the Silver River. Remember, long time ago, they used to operate that little village there, the Cracker
Yes.
Village?
Yep,
And there was a
they did.
guy making snow cones with an old ice
yeah.
grater.
Yes.
And would literally take a big block of ice and just scrape
And
it.
shave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's a
shave it.
gadget for you.
Ice shaving.
Yeah. But yeah, when the electric can openers first came out, they were boxy and everybody loved those. That was just like, heaven for them.
Yeah.
Anything that was electric that had previously been manual was probably a lifesaver, An iron that you iron your clothes with. I mean, can you imagine that? When it became electric, that was such a big breakthrough. How did they heat it before?
Yeah, they had a fireplace.
In the fireplace, or else they had wood stoves, and then they just put the iron on top of the steel, the metal there, and then they would get it hot, and then they do that.
Yeah, but as we talked earlier, you have all these time-saving devices. So why don't
And we're
you
still in a hurry.
Why don't you have any time?
We do, but we're just always in a hurry.
I mean, at the end of the day, you say you've got half the things done you wanted to get
Right,
done.
right.
But
Exactly.
you have all these time-saving devices.
Think about a watch. I mean, watches, we take watches for granted, but how long have they actually been around?
Oh, yeah.
I wonder when the first watch came.
and-
But that's a gadget right there, a wristwatch.
And get a sundial. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they used to be pocket watches, though, before they put them on
Yep.
the wrist, and everybody would have, the train engineers and the train conductors,
Yep.
you always saw. They always had them.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, we also had a gas sound. Back in the old days, had a little gas tank on the back. You pump it up with gas.
Oh, really?
My mother had a gas sound. Yeah.
With gas
Used
what?
white gas. We used to have to get the gas from Amoco.
So it's like a blowtorch, only heated up the iron.
That's correct.
Yeah, you
That's
heat
correct.
Oh, wow. Your iron was gasoline powered?
Wow.
You had to be very careful because that little tank blew off the iron. It might end up 3 blocks down on your neighbor.
Oh, that's crazy.
So when you scorched the shirt, you scorched the shirt.
That's the end of that
That
shirt.
wasn't happening.
Yeah. Wow, I never heard of that before. Thank you. Wow. Wow, that sounds like an idea that probably didn't last long.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, OSHA would not stand for that
It was
today.
fuel for your
No.
iron.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And that's something that's, I understand OSHA is wonderful, but like on this job site I was on, we had to wear a yellow vest, of course, and when we're in a building, there's only 3 of us. The building's totally empty. There's nobody in this building. It's huge. It's about 500 feet long and about 300 feet wide. It's all open. And we had to wear safety glasses, and we had to wear a hard hat.
Right,
Now,
exactly.
there's nothing going to go on with that hard hat. There's nothing above us. There's nobody. But that was OSHA
That's the
safety
rules, yeah,
just
yeah.
to work in that.
Yeah.
And sweat, oh, my goodness. 100 degrees outside. It had to be 120 inside. No air movement whatsoever. All the doors closed. Wow. I know OSHA is saving our lives.
So you didn't have an air conditioner?
Nothing. This is a closed.
Did you have electricity?
We had electricity.
So did you see the homemade air conditioner?
No. Oh yeah, I've seen that little thing
with the gallon of frozen water.
Yeah.
That's a gadget. Now there's a gadget for you. I keep wanting to try it. I have a gallon of frozen water right now. But we'll see. Okay, for the listeners, the way it works, and Joe sent me the video for this. It's a 5-gallon bucket.
Yep.
You put another bucket in the bucket for some reason. You drill like 4-inch holes in them or something, and you put tubes that come out of those holes. Then you just put the gallon of frozen water into the inner bucket. You close it all up, and you put a fan, just a regular fan, on top of it, facing down, so that it blows the air out those 2 holes that you put in there, or 3 holes, whatever you want. And the guy put a thermometer to it, and the temperature was 42 degrees coming out of those holes. And it would cool a room for what, 5 hours?
Yes.
For 5 hours.
It's amazing.
Well, you remember the old days where you put a block of ice in front of your fan, and then you had the fan behind it. All they did was enclose it. Yeah, that's like the old movies. Have you ever seen A Streetcar Named Desire or any of those old black and white movies? You see a block of ice in the fan.
Yeah.
See, you know what that reminds me of? That Carousel of Progress in Disney World? There was always one of the scenes, the guy was sitting there. He was the unwanted house guest.
Yeah.
He had the ice with the fan. I've tried that too with my gallon. It does it a little bit. You can feel it, or I don't know if it's psychological or not, but
yeah. But
well,
you
because
can feel it,
that's because the cool air is dissipating all around, and what the bucket does is concentrate it out those tubes. So that's the difference. It's coming straight at you instead of the block of ice dissipating. But no, it works. But who's going to go get the block of ice? You see, how much gas do you use to go get
the
a
ice,
block of ice? And can is your freezer large enough to freeze a gallon bucket of water? You know?
Mine is.
Well, good for you. Some of them are not. Some of them are those side-by-side
those
refrigerators.
little tiny ones,
yeah. You can't fit.
Yeah, one of those deals.
My grandparents had a gadget. When they got their new color TV, they put up a new antenna on the roof, and then they had this little box attached to the TV and then attached to the antenna, so that way all they had to do was turn the knob, and the knob would turn the antenna
the router,
instead of us going out there, to look at it and keep yelling inside.
We still have those today. They still, Radio Shack sells them, Channel Master sells them, a bunch of places, and because there's channels all around you, so you have to turn it to the channel you want. Now, they have an omnidirectional antenna that picks up from all directions, but it's not very strong. It may only have like 3 to 5 dB of gain, but those long antennas that you turn, they might have 17 to 20 dB of gain. So in 15 dB more gain is a huge amount of gain to pick up a distant channel, 125 mile away. You pick up a channel.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I thought of an old gadget. Do you remember that thing that shoppers used to bring to the grocery store? You push the button and it says, "Okay, I spent $2."
Oh yeah, that clicker
thing. I spent $1.41. Yeah,
right,
it was just a clicker thing. Yeah.
The precursor to the calculator.
Yeah. Click, 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 click. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those for sure. I know when my wife and I were first married, she carried a pad of paper and a pencil with her, and every item she picked up, she would write on the item what it said on the shelf. So when she got to the counter, she made sure that they didn't overcharge her. And then she wrote on her lists, and she knew how much money she had come to. Oh, I want to tell you a quick story. This is really good. Ocala is so great. Real quick, last Friday after the show, I went to FedEx, and there was an old man that stopped me, and his car would not start, and he wanted me to help him, and this guy maybe weighed all of 90 pounds.
Oh, wow.
He was the smallest guy you ever saw, and he turned the key, and it wouldn't work, and it was a rental car, and he drove it there, but anyway, we found out in order to start it, you had to put your foot on the brake to crank the car up. And he was so happy with me and thanked me and said, "I'm going to pray for you. Just thank you." And when I got home, I wanted to tell my wife what my day looked like, and she said, "Let me tell you what my day looked like. I needed some gas, and I could have used my credit card, but I wanted to go to a certain gas station. But instead, I just went to the closest one, and when I did, I just wanted to get a couple of dollars worth. And the lady behind me saw that I pulled out a couple of dollars to give, And as I went out to pump, she came behind me and she says, no, honey, you go ahead and put $10 more in. I prepaid for you.
Oh.
And my wife was embarrassed to tell her she had money. She just only wanted to get so much there.
Oh, wow.
And but she said, I didn't want to rob that lady of a blessing for helping me.
No,
Nice.
she would have robbed the lady.
Ocala's just that way.
We need more people
you gave me
like you,
chills.
like her, like that lady. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
Happy Father's Day. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
And we'll be right back.
Father gave him this gun for his 21st birthday, which was in April. The mother, we're hearing from some of the friends, said that she did not approve of that and wanted to take the gun away from him.
Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana bracing for high water this weekend.